When a piece of our modern technology breaks down, we're not necessarily in a hurry to buy a replacement, as it's often enough to just replace the worn-out part that is causing the problems, greatly extending the life of, say, a coffee maker, a microwave oven, or even a car. But what if, in the same way, we could prolong the life of a person, replacing sick, worn-out organs with new ones? After all, according to whatever healthy way of life we didn't lead, there's always some traitor inside of us who first refuses to function properly, thereby undermining the activity of the whole organism. Patients who need a transplant are forced to wait for years in line to get the desired organ when using official donor programs. But what if you resort to the services of clandestine organ traders? How much should you spend to achieve the maximum possible upgrade for your body? A new shoulder and stomach can be acquired by laying out a measly $500. A skull with teeth or a gallbladder cost in the range of $1,200. If you have an extra $1,500, you can pick out a nice pair of eyeballs or coronary artery, whichever you prefer. The costs of covering your body with new skin can be calculated by multiplying your body's surface area in square inches by $10. The most expensive at the moment are those organs without which continued life is impossible. A heart and liver can be bought from between $119,000 and $157,000, and the price of a kidney may exceed the cost of an Aston Martin DBS. In layman's terms, that means over $250,000. Alas, I must dash your dreams of trading in one of your superfluous kidneys for a luxury car. The indicated prices are for buyers. Donors of kidneys, on average, receive just about $10,000 for their organ. One must agree such is very little compensation for a possible reduction in lifespan. So, buying yourself new organs, you need to fork out a minimum of, say, $500,000. And the black market, by its very nature, doesn't guarantee the highest quality of goods, so you could easily end up back where you started. But if you turn to official legal medicine, then the numbers will be even more extreme. A single heart can cost more than $1 million. And that's just the organ. If we add to the cost of the organs the payment required for transplant services, then the list of people who can afford such procedures will very quickly begin to resemble the list of Forbes' richest. One of the former participants on that list, David Rockefeller, had 7 heart transplants and 2 kidney transplants during the last 40 years of his life, which helped him live to a quite lengthy 101 years. It was finally his 8th heart ceasing to function which caused the death of this long-lived billionaire. But is an 8th heart the limit? On average, transplanted kidneys and livers live or survive for about 20 years. The longest-lived continued life for a recipient after a heart transplant is 30 years. So let's suppose you've managed to keep your organs healthy up to the age of 70, but now you need them replaced. If you don't take into account all the other organs and processes of aging, then in order to live to 1,000, you would need 31 heart transplants and 47 liver and kidney transplants. What do you think? Is it realistic to be able to earn so much money? Please leave your thoughts in the comments. I'm really interested in hearing what you have to say. I think that all rich people have one thing in common. All of them read a lot. I want my videos to be useful to you not only as entertainment, they should also make you think, ask questions, increase your interest in science and in exploring this wonderful world we live in. My dear viewers, read. Even reading just 1 book a month will help you to change your future dramatically. At first, your brain may well resist, coming up with various excuses like, I don't have free time to sit with a book, I have work to do. Don't fall for that baloney. In our time, in this digital age, there's no reason to read books anymore. Thanks to services such as Audible, today's sponsor, it's possible to acquire new knowledge while driving, during your morning run, while doing your household chores, or even when walking the dog. Just grab your earphones, turn on Audible, choose your book, and listen. This is an awesome app. Use my link or text RIDDDLE to 500-500 to get a free book and a 30-day free trial. Audible gives you access to an unmatched selection of audiobooks, original audio shows, news, science, comedy, so much to increase your knowledge. And this membership isn't some kind of a rental service. The books you select are yours to keep forever. Right now, I'm listening to Countdown by Alan Weisman. It's about how the Earth can heal and even refill empty niches if relieved of some of humanity's constant pressures. My dear viewers, I'm curious, what are you listening to? Go to audible.com/RIDDDLE today. Start your trial and let me know what book you choose. Just try to read more or listen more, and I swear books are going to change your life and help you to achieve all of your goals. But if finances aren't a problem, can one's body survive all these trials and tribulations? Or maybe transplants can kill us. New organs in our body are perceived by the immune system as alien, so we'll make every attempt to attack the alien invader, which in the end can lead to death. To keep this from happening, patients who've received a new organ take special medications that suppress the immune system. Unfortunately, this makes them vulnerable to all different sorts of infections that swarm our planet. And kidneys simply cannot withstand this treatment for long. That's why Rockefeller needed to replace his kidneys twice. If the well-known billionaire had had every new heart survive to the maximum possible, he might well have lived until the ripe old age of 272. True, he wouldn't have needed just 2 kidneys to survive this long. He would have needed 11, provided that they also worked at their fixed maximum. But what about other vital organs? The brain, according to scientists, is able to live for up to 200 years. That is, if we manage to keep the other organs in good running order. Possibility of an operation for a head transplant still remains only the object of scientific disputes and far-fetched assumptions. But what if the operation were successful? Would this result in a boom among the powerful of this world who want to prolong their lives in acquiring new bodies? Is it possible then that the world would be divided into 2 parts, one of which would simply be the raw material for extending the life of the second, richer and stronger half of humanity? After all, for organ transplantation, a large number of people need an equal number of donors. Of course, you can use donors who have become recently deceased, but it's not every day that a person dies whose organs are ideally suited specifically to us. It's much easier to find such organs among the far more numerous living human beings. This problem could be solved by some of our smaller brethren, specifically pigs. In addition to being succulent and tasty bacon, can give their organs for the extension of human lives. A dying baboon who received a transplanted pig's heart was able to live happily for 3 additional years. Chinese scientists who switched to using these genetically modified experimental pigs due to a ban on transplant research involving prisoners suggest that in the near future it will be possible to transplant pig organs into humans. One might assume that for such purposes, apes would be genetically closer and their organs more adaptable to humans. But it turns out that pigs, in addition to having excellent compatibility with humans, differ in their cost of breeding. In other words, they're cheap, and they lack the ability to evoke sympathy from animal rights activists. Although it should be noted that pig organs still suffer from the problem of rejection by the human immune system. But what if we look at the problem deeper, at the level of cells and not organs? Recipients who've received stem cells in addition to donor organs have managed to survive for a time without the usual panoply of drugs that suppress the immune system. In such patients, thanks to the stem cells of the donor, a chimeric immune system is formed. In biology, the chimera is not a mythical monster, but an organism that consists of hereditarily different cells. Amazingly, the donor immunity begins to work in tandem with that of the recipient organism, which consequently does not reject the organ. It's like transplanting an entire immune system, which of course gives us all hope that we can live longer without lifelong drug intake and a compromised immune system. But this still does not solve the problem regarding the dearth of donors. Pig organs cannot yet be transplanted, and human donors remain scarce. And what if you could get a new organ without a donor? What if it could be created or grown? Since 2010, a bioengineer deliciously named Gabor Forgach, using stem cells and a 3D bioprinter, was able to print a human blood vessel, a fragment of a liver, and a heart valve. Following in his footsteps, one Professor Gordon Wallace has created nerve tissue. Such bioprinting is not yet developed enough to create full-fledged organs, but it is already actively used for making artificial meat and skin, which cannot but please eco-advocates as they can now eat steak and wear leather shoes, being sure that no animals suffered in their production. And if we go even further, can our bodies even have a different form? Harvard's Donald Ingber has developed devices that are populated with cells of a variety of different organs. Such chips do not look like real organs, obviously, but they perform the same functions. Kidneys, liver, lungs, and even intestines on chips have already been created. It's possible that in the near future, we may well transform over time into biorobots with silicon chips in place of our organs. But what if all these attempts to prolong life by all these different proposed methods are essentially meaningless? What if everything is already predetermined? In my episode on maximum life expectancy, I mentioned that under ideal conditions, a person can live up to 300 years. Many researchers believe that our aging and life expectancy are programmed at the genetic level. But if this is so, does that mean it might be possible to modify the DNA, thereby creating genetic mutants that can live longer? Researcher Michael Rose, using specialized breeding techniques, managed to fool the aging gene and make fruit flies survive to 120 days instead of their usual 60. By human standards, this equals an increase in life of about 200 years. So, are genes to blame for everything? Perhaps, but the main reason that we age is, believe it or not, our breathing. This process oxidizes our cells, thereby causing them to eventually wither and die. Does this mean we need to find an alternative to oxygen? Must we learn how to live without it in order to increase our span of years? Even if this is so, I don't recommend chasing after this ephemeral dream just yet. Rather, one should focus on one's quality of life and that of their loved ones. Psychologist Viktor Frankl, who survived a Nazi concentration camp, claimed that only those people who felt that they had something to live for survived. Therefore, if your life is fully realized and filled with meaning, your body will find the strength necessary to fight off all challenges and will live as long as it takes to achieve your ultimate goals.